He has spawned at the top right-hand position as the red Terran, and down in the bottom left-hand corner we have Damaddar spawning as the blue Protoss.
All right, I was talking about doing a conservative playstyle. However, on Steps of War, usually what you'll see is if your opponent has lost the first game and they switch to Steps of War, that's telling you one thing, man, that they want to do a very fast rush. Now, why do I say that? Because, okay, here's the entrance of one base. It is a very, very short trek across the map to the entrance of your opponent's base. So you can do proxy gateways, you can do 4-gate timing attacks, you can do 2-gate chrono boosted zealots. Not always that effective against Terran, but we'll see if he's going to play a more aggressive style or if he just prefers this map.
It's funny to note because Nadagast was scouting with his SCV before building that supply depot. He was going all around his base to check for proxy gates. And proxy 2-gate on this map is absolutely horrible to play against if you're a Terran player. Nadagast knew that. He knew that his opponent picked this map, and he knew that a potential in-base 2-gate proxy was possible. He did scout his base, and that was not what happened. So Damaddar here is scooting up with his probe just to test the front door, and it looks like he's throwing down his gateway at a relatively standard timing. So he isn't going to try to do any kind of an early cheese tactic, but one thing I do want to point out is he went for a 2-gate last game, and he might just decide to go for that again this game.
Maybe. It is not a very good opener, though, especially once the Terran is walling in, which the Protoss has scouted it. Standard here from Nadagast, as the gas is now started after the barracks, which is the absolute basic opener for Terran against Protoss, where you're going to get your supply depot, you're going to get your barracks out, and then once the refinery is completed, you can usually have enough money for an add-on. A lot of players do like to opt, though, to get out that Marine, kill that probe, and then the Protoss is basically forced at that point to get an observer, which is, there is that double gate, though, actually, in the main. So we'll see if he can make this work. What most players will actually end up doing is getting that cybernetics core before the second gateway, because you need those warp gates ASAP, because if a player is rushing you with, say, just his first couple of Marines, you want to make sure to have your units out as quickly as you can, especially once the Marauders start to show up. That can be very, very difficult to deal with.
Well, Damaddar is going to be opening with his 2-gate pressure again, similar to the last game. And of course, Nadagast has scouted that out like any good Terran player should. Now, here's the thing about 2-gate against Terran. It can work if you get Stalkers because you're going to have map control. You can keep the Terran inside the base, and especially on this map, you can actually crawl up the ramp and start to snipe out that supply depot at the front. So that's something that Nadagast does have to be careful about, and all he has to do really is get some Marines, possibly some Marauders. He is going to land that tech lab down, and that should be enough to hold off the 2-gate pressure. A bunker would be nice as well. We didn't see him do that last game, but I think a bunker against a 2-gate pressure from Protoss is always a wise decision. We have 2 chrono boosts going down on a double stalker warp in, and it looks like Damaddar is going to open up with this early pressure. Look for him to transition out of this into that robotics facility that he did last game, because that 2-gate pressure didn't work. And Nadagast is going to be throwing down a 3rd barracks, very early barracks, 3 inside the base this time instead of getting that factory after the second one. So he's really looking to get a lot of early Marines, a lot of early Marauders to deal with this 2-gate. We'll see how effective this is going to be.
It is good, though, that you mentioned that a bunker is good at holding this off, because at this point, the Protoss player is so committed to getting these Stalkers out, it is slowing everything down about his build. So it's really worth it for the Terran player to invest into that bunker to guarantee him a good spot going into the mid game. Looks like once again they're going to try and break that down. Not going to work, though, so they are going to once again be forced to back out. And another important thing about the bunker is that you can actually salvage it, which does return the cost of the bunker to you. So while it may slow down your tech a little bit, those minerals are not lost, unlike, though, the minerals lost trying to get out these Stalkers extremely early. Now, do note there is a proxy Stargate over here. Now, what I mean by proxy is that it is in a close proximity to his opponent, and the flight distance is actually going to be very, very short. So if the Terran player doesn't scan the Protoss player, he's not going to be expecting this whatsoever, but it is good to see Damaddar changing up his playstyle just a little bit to see what he can make work.
This is absolutely insane. We were talking about how Damaddar, losing that first game, he might try some kind of a cheese tactic, go for in-base 2-gate proxy, but instead he's going to be opening with a Stargate up here at the gold position. This is going to be the last place that Nadagast is going to check unless he sends out an SCV to get this Xel'Naga watchtower. That's the only thing I could fault Damaddar for, placing this Stargate here. It's very close to that watchtower, and that's something that could bite him in the butt if Nadagast decides to go control that tower. But here we go. The Stargate is in. What is he going to warp out of this Stargate? Is he going to get Phoenix
it's been
or
sitting
Void
there.
Rays? Yeah.
I'm wondering, the Phoenix, it should be Void Rays, but he does not even have nearly enough minerals. He has 90 minerals right now, and it's been sitting there the whole time. So once this Terran army pushes out, I mean, he's not going to have a lot to stop it unless he gets good force fields. Are we going to see anything from this Stargate? It's just kind of chilling here. There we go. The Void Ray has now started. That is way delayed, though.
Yeah, it's a little bit delayed because he just didn't have the resources to pump out that Void Ray as early as he could have. I guess he just messed up on his timing just a little bit. And here comes Nadagast. He knows something funky's up because by now the Protoss player should have pushed. He should have made some kind of pressure with this 2-gate, but he hasn't. And the reason for that is because there's a proxy Stargate warping in a Void Ray. Nadagast still doesn't know about this. He does have some Marines. He has Stimpack researching, which is going to help against the Void Ray. He's getting a starport along with that factory with the reactor, so he's going to swap down. No, he's going to build his own reactor. Okay, canceling it and getting a tech lab. So look for him to get a Raven or possibly an early Banshee out. Banshees are so good against Protoss players, but he still doesn't know about this Void Ray. One Void Ray has been produced, a second one on the way, so he's just biding his time. He's waiting to get a crucial mass, and then he's going to run in, possibly combine that with his ground army and try to cheese his way to victory over Nadagast.
I think it's smart of him to wait for that second Void Ray because he waited so long to get the first one that you're not going to win just with harassment at that stage in the game. So what he can try and do is wait for this army to get to his base, back up all the way. If he engages this is not going to go into his favor. What he needs to do is back up, get to his ramp, and defend it with those force fields. Going to lose another Zealot, it does look like. And so they're going to get up here. He needs a force field on the ramp, another Stalker is going to go down. Wow, that was dangerously close there. So what he can do now is send in these Void Rays, sending one into the entrance. It looks like he's going to try and split these up. Once the Void Rays are fully charged, we're seeing that right now on one of them. The second one will be fully charged soon. They will just chew through Marines. However, it does look like Nadagast says, okay, well, I'm going to try and get up this ramp. So it's got to come down to the force fields. He needs to make sure to get a good force field on this ramp to keep it going. These two guys are still alive. He doesn't force field it, though. So now the units are in the main. This is so bad for Damaddar. While he could have actually killed the main, it looks like, with these two Void Rays, or at least done a lot of damage. Now he has to deal with this Marine Marauder army, which he is trying to chrono boost out these warp gates, but there is only two, and focus firing down the pylons wisely here, as I don't know if he'll be able to make enough units here to defend this.
Nadagast pumping out Vikings inside his main base. The Vikings trying to deal with the Void Rays, but the Void Rays fully charged are just so strong against the Viking. Nadagast can micro it out, but he loses that Viking. His main is under siege, and it looks like the pylon powering these last two warp gates could possibly go down. It goes down, and that means the warp gates cannot bring out any additional reinforcements. These Marines and Marauders are going to stay alive as long as they stay away from those probes with those pylon cutters, whatever you call them. But it looks like back at the main, Nadagast could possibly lose his command center. No! The Void Rays fall to the Vikings, and the SCVs all repairing that command center back up to full HP. Back at the middle of the battlefield, looks like one Zealot trying to slice and dice his way to victory, but Nadagast microing with those Marauders and abusing those weeds for that vision bonus, and he is going to come out ahead in this exchange. One more Void Ray, but two Vikings hunting it down, and the nice thing is Vikings do have additional range over the Void Ray, so with proper micro they can win. It looks like they're going to take out that final Void Ray, and Nadagast now looking in a strong position of control. I don't see how he can lose this game at this point. I don't see what Damaddar can do. His income is actually still higher, but he's not transitioned. He's still been pumping out of 2 gates and a Stargate. He's getting a robotics facility and another gateway, but I just don't see how this is going to help him out. Nadagast is in a firm position.
I think, yeah, Nadagast, he should probably basically just expand if he wants to secure the win 100%. He could try and push out with the units he has. He could be held indefinitely if there are enough sentries on the field. However, there is only the one, and yeah, the Vikings know what's up over here. This is going to go down, which, I mean, you got to look at it, put this into perspective. Once this goes down, our Protoss player, I don't know how long we're into this game, probably about 15 minutes, but once that goes down, all the Protoss player has is 2 gateways. That's not going to be enough. There is a robotics on the way, but he is still on one base. So is the Terran, so he can try and claw his way back into this game. And Nadagast, though, his macro is really, really good. Basically, he is spending all of his minerals and as much of his gas as he can. However, he does have a Marine-heavy army, and it does look like the Protoss player as well is on top of his macro, but that's simply because, I mean, he's just on the one base, and he was been producing off those 2 warp gates. So now here comes the push right now from Nadagast. This should seal the deal unless something goes terribly wrong.
Well, the nice thing for Damaddar is he can try to force field the ramp to keep himself in this game, but then again, Nadagast has the mobility of the dropships, and he is mobilizing that. He has one Marauder and a handful of Marines in that drop. It looks like he's going to go for another 2-pronged attack, and a nice force field blocking off the rest of those forces from running up the ramp and ending Damaddar's day, but here comes a dropship from behind. This is going to force Damaddar to split his attention. He needs to continue to keep this ramp force fielded, but he also needs to bring forces back to deal with the drop. Looks like there's an Immortal back here, and it's going to start to shell away against those Marines, but the Immortal not very good against mass infantry. All the forces falling back. That force field is going to run out at the ramp, and the forces for Nadagast are just going to charge in for the victory. Nice distraction from Nadagast. It looks like the force field wears off. Nadagast going to run inside, and this could be lights out for Damaddar. Damaddar did not split his control. That's what he needed to do, leave his sentries at the front ramp, but he failed to do so. And now the forces for Nadagast going to push forward. He has 3 dropships healing all these Marine Marauders, including Vikings. I don't see how he can lose this with proper micro, and it looks like Damaddar is going to lose.
Damaddar is definitely going to be out of this game. Even an SCV over here to repair that Hellion. I mean, why not at this point? So Damaddar does GG. It is going to go 2-0 to Nadagast, and I was checking out his APM there, which is basically just how fast you play the game, and he was sitting right around 145, which that's not too bad. Just kind of showing that, yeah, man, you know, WoW players can play StarCraft 2. He is going to advance. That means Damaddar, so all the Damaddar fans out there, don't be too sad. He is down in the losers bracket, and he will still have a chance to go all the way. So that is going to go 2-0, and we are going to go ahead and go to a quick commercial break here, and we will be back with Day 9 and JP.